Hey everybody, welcome to Chapter 16 of Price Analysis, a fundamental approach to the study of commodity markets. Chapter 16 is about hog markets, and we're going to do a really basic overview of what hog production looks like in the United States, what the market structure is like, and think about implications for that for doing price analysis on hog prices. As a companion to Chapter 16, this week we're going to take a look at some of the topics from Appendix 18 and 19 and do a little bit of time series econometric forecasting with hog prices. So we'll give a little bit of a technical introduction to how to do forecasting with those standard statistical models, and we'll talk about the advantages and the limitations of both of those. But first we're going to talk about hog market fundamentals. So the hog market over the last few decades has actually undergone pretty significant changes as far as industry organization goes. The industry used to be very unconcentrated, similar to cow-calf beef cattle operations, where there was a really large number of fairly small, independently owned and operated farms. But recent decades in the hog market have trended towards more and more concentration in ownership. What this has meant in the hog market is that smaller, independently owned farmers who are raising hogs will enter into production agreements with bigger hog producing companies. And the hog production companies like Smithfield Foods and others will supply the pigs and arrange for the feed to be delivered, and the contract farmers are sort of in charge of managing the operation of actually raising the pigs. As a consequence of this kind of industry organizational realignment, we see a lot more vertical integration in the structure of this market, and that has pretty important implications for the way prices are discovered in this market. So Smithfield Foods, which is a really large hog producer, has a series of videos about what goes on at their hog farms, and it's pretty illuminating about how hog production works in the United States. So what I'd like you to do now, before we continue on with the lecture, is click through to this YouTube playlist, and in particular I would like you to especially make sure you watch the Wean to Finish video and the environmental protection video and the animal care video. And if you're interested in how hog production relates back to corn and soybean production that we've been talking about most of the semester, this video is pretty good to illustrate that. You're welcome to watch all the videos, but those are the ones that I want you to make sure that you watch for our purposes. I won't include them in this screencast because you can click through and watch those on your own. Alright, so now that you know what hog production looks like in terms of these hogs being raised in big barns together, and the farmers using really high-tech facilities to manage their manure and manage their health and manage disease, let's get into the meat of our lecture. So first, let's just talk about several definitions that are important in the hog market. You probably don't just know these words unless you've been around hog production in your own experience. So first term is barrow, that's a neutered male hog. A boar is an unneutered male hog, so you would only have a boar around if you were using them for breeding. Feeder pig is a young hog, usually 6 to 8 weeks old and about 40 to 50 pounds in weight. A gilt is a female hog that has not borne a litter, so a young female. A market hog is an adult hog who has already been raised up to slaughter weight and is ready for slaughter. Parity is the number of farrowings or litters that have been borne by a sow. So it's important to keep track of how many litters a sow has had, because usually the farmers will replace the breeding sows after they've had a certain number of babies, just to make sure everybody's healthy and fertile. A sow is a female hog that's borne at least 1 litter. And a weanling is a weaned pig about 2 to 3 weeks of age and 10 to 15 pounds in weight. And a farrow is birth of piglets. Now let's talk quickly about the production systems that are used in the United States. You heard this alluded to in some of the Smithfield Foods videos. But you'll hear people talk about a farrow to finish operation, and in that kind of hog operation, the piglets are going to stay on the farm for their entire life cycle up until they're ready for slaughter. So from birth all through feeding and finishing, and then they'll be sent off to slaughter straight from the same farm that they were born on. A farrow to wean operation will specialize in keeping sows who are going to have baby piglets, and in caring for those young piglets only through about 2 to 3 weeks of their life. The next kind is a farrow to feeder. So that's going to be a farm who's also specializing in keeping sows for breeding, but are going to keep the piglets a little bit longer. So they'll do both birth and the first stage of feeding until the pigs are about 40 or 50 pounds. Wean to finish is kind of the complement to farrow to wean. They'll come from a farrow to wean. They'll come from a farrow to wean farm when they're about 10 to 15 pounds, and then the farmer will feed them out from 10 pounds all the way up to market weight. And then feeder to finish is the type of operation that will take 40 to 50 pounds piglets through market weight pigs. So just specializing in feeding them through that final stage and putting on the final pounds before slaughter. Alright, I think this is a good time to break the video, so I'll see you in the next set.